Hello, friends, and welcome to the Photographer Podcast. I am your host, Jaime Bugby. I'm a family photographer, educator, and the creator of the Booked Photographer course, where I help family photographers get booked through their websites, not social media or ads, and turn their site into a 24/7 lead machine. This podcast is all about helping photographers build sustainable, aligned businesses, one that supports your life, your family, and your creativity without the burnout or chasing every trend. So I'm very excited to have a good friend of mine on the podcast today. She's someone who I'm really excited to sit down with. Her name is Tristin Tracy. She is a Santa Barbara-based family photographer, educator, and mentor who has built a thriving photography business through intentional collaborations, especially with hotels and local brands. So beyond her beautiful photography work, Tristin teaches photographers how to grow through relationship-based marketing, referrals, and strategic partnerships, not hustle or constant posting. She offers education and mentoring for photographers who want consistent bookings and build a business on connection and strategy. So today we're diving into her journey, her hotel collaboration strategy, how she teaches photographers in her course, and how things like referrals and partnership and her SEO can work together to bring in aligned inquiries. So Tristin, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. That was quite the introduction. Thank you very much.
Well, you are quite the photographer and business person, so I'm excited to have you here. You have done amazing things in your business and very quickly, I might add. So I'm really
Thank you.
excited to talk to you, and I know you're going to give a lot of tips and things for photographers to take away from this. So it's very exciting. So I want to start from the beginning and learn a little bit more about you and how you got into family photography and what drew you into this work.
Yeah, so I always loved photography. My dad had a dark room in our basement. And so as a kid, I saw him tinkering around in there and, the weird smell of the chemicals and sort of that magic moment when you're making a print, how it just sort of appears, like magic. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And I went to a really small high school, junior high and high school combined, and they had photography as an elective. And I was like, oh, awesome. Like, I want to take this. And at the time, we were developing our own film and using a black room to, enlarge our own prints. And then later on in high school, digital photography started to become, a thing. And I was learning basic, Photoshop, and it was just really, really cool to be able to make an image. I've always been an artist, but not particularly good at like drawing or painting. And I like how with photography, you can still use that art form with the colors that you use in the composition, but you don't have to do it by hand necessarily. And at the time in Santa Barbara, there was Brooks College, which was a really big photography college. So there were a million photographers in Santa Barbara. And I thought, darn, I want to be a photographer, but I don't want to be one of a million and, barely make a living because every year there's like new people doing things for free.
Yeah.
And so I had a previous career in fine jewelry, which I really loved. And in some ways, it's kind of similar to photography, or at least family photography, where people come in to buy a piece of jewelry because they, are looking to get engaged, or they're buying an anniversary piece, or celebrating a birthday, or some sort of like happy event that they want to commemorate with a nice piece of jewelry. And I find that really true with photography. People are coming to connect with their family. They want to have a good time together. They're looking for this beautiful outcome of nice photos that they can be proud of and show to friends and family. And so it's really neat to be able to do that. And unfortunately, Brooks College closed, but that meant that there were not a million photographers now in Santa Barbara. So there's a bit of an opening, especially I think with family photography. There are a lot of them, but in some ways, I've found it fairly easy to rank number one in a lot of the different keywords. So I appreciate all your education that you've given me, Jaime. I've taken a lot of that, and you've really helped with my SEO as well.
Good. Amazing. Well, your work is really beautiful too. So you're front and center in front of everybody, but your work really is just absolutely stunning. And you live in such a beautiful area. Can you tell me a little bit about who comes to you, like a lot of tourists and locals, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I just totaled my numbers for 2025, and I had 114 sessions last year. And I was interested to see that 45 of them were vacationers.
Hmm.
So about half or so make up people just coming into town. I do a lot of extended family sessions when they're here, wanting to commemorate their vacation or their time together. Quite a few proposals, 18 proposals. And what was interesting is consistently over the last few years, about a third of my revenue does come from referrals, either from hotels or for local businesses that I work with. So and then of course, returning or
Sure.
past clients, returning clients, and clients will refer. But that's so much smaller than with the hotels and some of the birth centers that I work with too.
Amazing. And I want to get into that soon because that is something you are like a wizard at. But before we go into that, I want to know, what did your business look like when you first started to now?
Yeah, so I started in 2021 and I took the summer, it was during COVID, took the summer to just learn everything I could on YouTube. Just watched as many YouTubers, but also like it all felt just a little like it wasn't right for me. I was learning, but I wasn't learning from the right person.
Right.
And I remember I saw a podcast or a video by Elena Espelair, and I think it was put on by might have been a B&H video.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was like, oh, like this is interesting how she's moving clients, how she's talking to families. And it's like, this is really something. So I started following her and getting, you know, interested in her education and learning more and more. And that really was when it took off for me, when I found the right mentor who was doing what I wanted to do and just really relatable for my situation. And after spending those couple months educating myself, then I started just photographing all my friends and family, anyone with a kid or not a kid, any couple that I knew, just getting them in front of my camera to practice. And I remember like going home, it'd be like 8 o'clock at night and I'm trying to, upload the images and look at them. My husband's like, why don't you do that in the morning? I was like, no, I want to see like, how did they come out? So it's just really cool, those beginning few months of like seeing what was actually coming out of my camera
Yeah.
and just got, yeah, better and better. And I told myself, okay, I'm going to give, like, there was about 6 month period that I was photographing friends and family before the end of the year. It's like, if I can make $10,000 in the 6 months, then I'm going to like give it a go and really try to make a business of it. And I brought in 12,000. I was like, okay, that's like pretty good. And I started taking it even more seriously. I joined Elena's mastermind and just started learning kind of more in depth. And it took off from there.
And that's where you and I met. We both did Elena's mastermind at the same time. So that was
Yeah.
a while ago. Would you say that is when things shifted for you creatively and financially when you were like, if I can do this, I'll keep going? Was that kind of your shift or was it something else?
It was my shift. Yeah, I had when I was working in fine jewelry, there were a couple photo shoots that I got to be involved in with the
Mhm.
jewelry on bottles. And I remember thinking like, this is just so cool. And I'd photograph the jewelry and then the editor would make it look like really nice, for ads and stuff. So I always sort of had this like idea. I know I can take good photos. I know I can work with families and kids because when my son was really young, we did a parent-child workshop and I learned like how to talk to kids, relate to kids. So it's like, I know I can technically do this, but is there a demand for it? And are there people willing to pay for it? And then with Elena's mastermind, you're like, yes, of course there are people. You just have to find them. And I talked to one of my high school photography teachers at the time, asking him like, what camera should I get? What gear? And he gave me some, good inputs. But he also said, there's so much, and he had moved out. So he wasn't in Santa Barbara at the time. He was in Chicago, I think. Is like, in Santa Barbara, there's so many hotels. Like, you should just go to the hotels and just tell them what you do, and they'll start referring clients to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. Like, and it sounded so simple. I was like, it's that simple. I'm just going to go to the hotels and tell them to refer clients to me. Little did I know that it does take persistence and a strategy. But I think in the beginning, I had that mindset of like, that's what I'm going to do. And
Mhm.
I'm going to do it. And it happens. It just takes a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
that's like the first time I'd ever heard anyone talking about hotels. And
Mhm.
it was just such a game changer for me. So I love being able to pass that on and teach people how to do that and how to really really get your foot in the door with and it opens so many other things too, because it's not just them referring clients, but it's eyes on your website, eyes on your business. It just all works together.
I'm so glad you brought that up. You've told me that story before, and I love it because you were like, he just said it was like, just go do that, and it's easy. And and you mentioned your mindset, and I think easier said than done, yes, but it is running this business is such a mindset thing that I love that you're like, you just go in there and it'll work out.
Just go and do it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah. I want to talk about you. You mentioned your son. I want to talk about you as a mom, and did that influence how you wanted to run your business and how you wanted it to function at all?
Absolutely. It was the main reason why I went a different direction instead of going back to jewelry or back to retail after the pandemic.
Hmm.
I took some time off when he was born, and my husband at the time owned a company, a shop, and I was doing some of the bookkeeping for that. Or I learned how to do it so I could step into that role when my son was really young, like when I was pregnant and a new mom with him. And so I got a little glimpse into like how to run the back end of a business, like what is QuickBooks, what are some of the ideas of running a profitable business, like money going out can be a really good thing. And just that idea of like how to be an entrepreneur. And so once I realized I don't want to go back to retail, I don't want to be sitting, at someone else's business from the punch in to punch out time, no matter how beautiful it is outside, or no matter if there's no clients in the door, I still have to sit there.
Yeah.
Having a son and realizing like I can do it. Like I know the creativity part and I've just learned some of like the back end, like bookkeeping part. Like this is not a mystery. Like I can make this happen. It was a big part of it.
I love that. Was there anything that felt super hard in the beginning that you can remember? Like what was super challenging when you first started?
I think in the beginning, I had the idea that being a photographer meant that you had a studio and you
Mhm.
had all these lights and all these different cameras, and you would have to like pose people in front of a backdrop. And
Yeah.
that just didn't feel authentic to me. I didn't know a lot of the technical stuff. I had never worked with Flash. It just didn't seem that much fun either. And so so I mentioned during the summer I was educating myself. There was a photographer in town who was putting on this seminar for $700, which was so much money for me to spend. And it was a 1 day coming into her studio and like watching her photograph models. And I was like, this is the learning experience I need, right? This
Yeah.
is like what real photographers do. And
Mhm.
so her house, it was a studio that was off the side of her house, was up in the foothills. It was just a beautiful day. Um, the foothills were just like glowing. And we're in this sort of darker, small studio. She's got these two giant flashes. She's got this model set up with like this big headpiece and like gold foil and these beautiful gowns. And I remember thinking, like, yes, this is beautiful, but it just doesn't like I kept looking out the window and I was like, I just want to be outside. Like I want to be out there. And then I think when I found Elena, who started talking about like she doesn't have a studio, she doesn't use Flash, like she's on location. I was like, oh my gosh, like that you can be a real photographer and do that. And that was just like a light bulb of like, okay, like what I had in my mind about what a real photographer was, it doesn't have to be that way. You can make it what you want it to be.
Same. I thought you had to do it a certain way, and when I realized, you could be outside, you could do however you wanted, I was like, oh, okay, now I really want to do this because I didn't even know that was a thing. And I'd always loved being outside and hiking and going on adventures. And I was like, I can actually make this about that and being with your family versus like, we're at a photo shoot. Like, just sit here and smile. Like, I hated that. So, yeah, glad you brought that
Yeah,
up.
no one likes that. That's so much pressure for everyone, for the photographer, for the family, for the poor little kids. Like that idea of going on an adventure and actually having fun together. And
Mhm.
I'm so proud of Santa Barbara. I was born and raised here. I love being here. So it's especially fun with vacationers. I'm like their tour
Mhm.
guide for the hour. I'm talking about the restaurants that I love. I'm asking them,
Yeah.
did they go to the zoo or did they go on any boat rides or did they go wine tasting? So I get to like represent my town and
Yeah.
like talk about it in the best way, and they're excited, I'm excited. It's a dream job.
It really is. I feel the same way about where I live and my clients. I get a lot of tourists as well. And I live in the Pacific Northwest. So, like, summertime, there's lots of tourists and they want to go to the Oregon coast. And it's almost like they remind me of how great it is here. And we'll meet and we'll walk out on the beach and they'll go, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, it is cool. And I'm like, but it is really cool, actually. Like, it reminds me, like, yeah, this is really amazing. And they'll say that was like the highlight of our trip, which is like, oh, that just makes me so happy. And they're asking me, like, where should we go? And what about this? And like, I'm like, oh, just binge my blog. There's tons of stuff on there. So, and it's fun because like you said, like, you're proud of where you live and it's fun to like show people and make sure they have fun and their whole experience while they're here. So, I love that. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
and it's such an amazing tie into website and SEO. I've written a lot of
Yeah.
blogs on like my favorite restaurants and
Yeah.
family activities to do and hikes. And you can definitely link all that to them. And I send this
Mhm.
little thank you email right after the session. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
more things to do in Santa Barbara. So it's
Oh, I
it's
love
like this amazing ecosystem where it
that.
all like works really well together. And you're not taking advantage of anyone or like you're not trying to push anything. Like they genuinely want to know, what
Mhm.
great restaurants they should check out while they're here, and you're helping them and
Mhm.
you're building your business at the same time. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. What is something that really helped you? Like, I know things are going amazing for you now, but when you're growing and sometimes things feel uncertain, what is something that really helped you keep going?
Hmm, that's a good question. I would say to really focus on the thing you enjoy doing the most.
Hmm.
I know sometimes, especially in the first maybe 2 years, I was doing some sessions that I didn't love, and I felt like I needed to say yes to everything to bring in the money. And I think it's okay to say yes to some of those things if you need the money. But you also remember, like, if it didn't go as well as you'd hoped, or it wasn't like a dream session, don't give up. It's just maybe that wasn't the right type of session. I really love doing outdoor family and extended family sessions. Um, and when I do a kid's birthday party, sometimes it doesn't feel as magical or
Hmm.
as you don't get that feeling of like, oh, that was
Not
perfect,
so much. Yeah.
but yeah, not as aligned. But I'm still meeting really great clients who live in Santa Barbara. I'm still using it as like a networking opportunity. And the family loves the photos afterwards too. So I would
Mhm.
say if you're not feeling great, think about like what sessions you really love doing the most. And obviously show that on your website, show that on your Instagram. Try to lean into that. And then if you need the money and you're still saying yes to some of the other types of sessions, that's fine. Do it if you need to, but don't base your worth or how you're I don't base yourself on a session that didn't go so well if it wasn't even your dream session. You just do the best you can and then kind of move on, sort of thing.
Yeah, I did a couple of weddings and I did a few other things. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, I don't, oh, schools. I felt very unsure of myself. I just was not this like thing where I was like, I love that. I can't wait. Like I felt more energized when I was done, but those things drained me because I was just like, I just don't think this is aligned for me, and that's okay. But I think it's good you brought that up because I think it's just as important to do those things that you don't like so you know, and then it drives you to do those other things you want even more, and then you're like, I'm sure now. So then there's no like second guessing. So I love that you brought that
Yeah.
up. Yeah. So I want to dive into a little bit about your collaborations and hotel partnerships because it's absolutely amazing what you've done with that. And you're known for your strategy, especially with the hotels. I want to know, how did that even begin? I know you kind of touched on that with your teacher, but tell me about the first time you were like, okay, I'm going to do it, and you went in.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of luck, as most things are in the beginning. I made a list of some of the hotels in town.
Hmm.
And before going, I think it's my background in fine jewelry too. We had a lot of reps coming to the jewelry store.
Hmm.
Every week or so, a rep would come in and they'd all dress the same. You'd like spot them as they're even walking through the door. You're like, oh, that's a rep coming in the door. And we were supposed to be the blockers. The owners didn't want to talk to them because they'd, talk their ear off. And we were sort of like the gatekeepers and be like, leave your stuff here. The owner will look at it. They'll let you know if they want anything. And so
Yeah.
I was sort of realizing that's going to be the same case here. So
Hmm.
number one, I realized I need to leave something. I need to leave something physical so that they just don't forget me the second I walk out the door. So I made these postcards. They're
Hmm.
little like 5x8 cards that have pictures of, and they talk about what I do, a little bit about why I do it, but they're mostly like image heavy. So the front is going to be a family, the back is usually newborn. And then I realized, well, wait, no, like I don't want to do newborn because this is a hotel. I probably won't do newborn sessions. So I started making a card that was specific to hotels. And then even now I make the cards specific to each type of hotel or each hotel in general. And so I want to leave something with them, not just one, but like a little collection. And I like the front and the back to be different so that they look, I alternate them when I hand them to them. So it looks a little bit more interesting. And I try to not just talk about what I want from them and who I am, but I try to like get to know them and what are their needs, what are their guests asking for, what types of sessions would they think benefit their hotel the most. And I just try to like just get information and listen as much as I talk, ask open-ended questions, and then just be really like friendly and nice. These are real people I'm talking to. They are the gatekeeper in a sense, the concierge, but just like getting to know them. And the first couple hotels I heard nothing from, and there was one hotel in particular that we kind of knew like we had both been at a similar hotel in the past. And so we had that to like chat about. And he really liked photography and liked showing me his photography. And so I just showed a lot of interest in that. And I'd go back and visit, every like month or two just to say hi. And then he started referring clients to me. And I was like, oh, this is happening. So then I just remember, yeah, keep coming by. Sometimes I'll bring a little lattes or a little box of, like donuts or just some nice little treat to show my appreciation and just to keep like checking in with them. Right, this is like a relationship that needs tending. It's not just a one-way road. And I dive into that so much with my course about like how to like once they do refer a client to you, like how to keep them in the loop throughout the time, because the concierge usually wants to know when the session's happening, because sometimes the guests are going to get their hair done. The concierge likes to know where they're meeting, because the guests might say, I'm meeting the photographer. Like, they just want to be in the loop. And so I try to treat it as like a really open relationship where I'm telling them what's happening, what's the client's going to be doing. And then after the session, I just send an email to them that everything went great. The client had a wonderful time, just like reassuring them that I'm taking care of their guest. And then if they sign the model release, I've heard again and again that the concierge's favorite part is when I send them photos, like my favorite, 10, 15 photos from the session. They feel like they're a part of this wonderful story. That warm, fuzzy feeling that you just mentioned when you show or when you show vacationers like your town, the concierge feel the same way. They're doing that all day and all night with guests. And so to be able to bring them into that and see the photos, just really, they like get the warm, fuzzy feelings, right?
Yeah, so you're really an extension of the guest's experience and you're helping the hotel make sure those guests have this amazing thing. And it might have been something they didn't think about before, that a photo session would be like a thing to do, but actually it's like one of the best things, because now they're going to have these photos to take back and remember, and they feel confident in you, and they're like, actually we have this also really amazing experience. So I love that you went in there thinking like, what can I do for them? Although you had something in mind for yourself, but you really focused on what do they need.
Yeah, I think of it as an experience, just like the concierge is recommending wine tasting or a
Yeah.
sailing tour. Like a photography session is an experience that they can offer. Sometimes it's even paired with those things. Like I've photographed horseback riding sessions. I've photographed sailing, like sunset sailing cruises. Surf lessons is another thing that sometimes they'll have photographed. So it's an experience that the concierge is recommending. And so I want to make sure that the concierge feels really secure that I am going to give the guests the best experience, and I'm going to go above and beyond to make sure that they're always taken care of. And I give a physical photo album with my session too, which is like really nice to have something physical after you have this amazing vacation in Santa Barbara, that it is curated and already made for you. And so I try to talk about that when talking to
Mm.
hotels as well.
So, as you know, I have a background in dentistry, and we were the same. We'd have reps come in, and we were always the blockers. And I always felt so bad for them, because I was like, I know you're doing your job. And they would bring in, like, here's some new products and things. And I would always tell them, like, hey, doctor's favorite treat is this. When you come back next time, bring this thing. And I love that you mentioned like you did lattes, or maybe, we'd have people bring donuts, or they're like, can I bring you lunch, without like doing a lunch and learn where they talk to us. They're like, we just want to bring you lunch, just something to start the relationship. So I'm glad you brought that up. I love the reps, because I was like, they're always bringing snacks. So
Yeah,
let
so same. There were a couple favorites that would bring these crush cake cupcakes,
Yep.
and they were like the best reps, right? You'd be like, you'd open in the door for them as you see them walking up, you're like, come on
Yeah,
in.
and they would always be the
So
ones where I would be telling the doctor, I'm like, look, they brought us snacks. Like, we'll go ahead and do the lunch and learn, and we'll just give you the information. Like, they don't want to do it. We're like, we'll do it for you, and then we'll get the food, and we'll decide what you need. So,
yeah. And the amazing thing is you don't need 10, 15 hotels
yeah.
recommending you. It's best to have one or two in the beginning, and then you maybe add three or four, but like you don't want too many. I want to always say yes when my main two hotels call
Yeah.
me. I want to always be available. Usually it is booking out like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks in advance. Sometimes it's a week. So
Mhm.
I tried, I like it that I do have an open schedule most of the time, or there's like a little bit of leeway where maybe I can't make it the one day, but I can do it the day before or the day after. And so usually we can always make it work. Um, so that's another thing is like, I think people feel overwhelmed. They make a list of like 20 hotels, and maybe it's good to like eventually visit those 20 hotels, but really you're just going to try to focus on a couple and to get like one or two referring clients to you regularly.
Yeah, I remember when I went into my first one, I called you right before I walked in. I was like, I'm going in. And you're like, okay. And I was like, okay, give me a minute. Because it is nerve-wracking. And I like that well, we can touch on this too later, but I like that you say, like, go into the first one that you don't really care about, just to get one out of the way.
Yeah, I say to make a list of like the 5 hotels in town, and then the one that's at the bottom of the list, like
Mhm.
the one that's maybe not your top pick.
Yeah.
Try that one out first because it's always nerve-wracking. And then I recommend that people do a dry run first.
Hmm.
So just walk around the hotel, figure out where to park, walk around the hotel. You don't need to talk to anybody. Just like see where things are, see where the desks are, see where just all that stuff so that when you
Yeah.
do actually go with your postcards and you're dressed, the way you want to be dressed, and you're like, okay, today's the day I'm going to do it. You already kind of know like
Hmm.
where to walk, where the concierge is. It helps take a little bit of the anxiety off the plate because it can be really nerve wracking. And I
Yeah.
think I had a leg up of that too because I had my fine jewelry career, and one of the stores was in the lobby of a hotel. And so I was really comfortable like being in a lobby of a hotel talking to people. We even ate like at the employee cafeteria where all the other, staff ate. And so I felt like it wasn't as like big of a deal, or there wasn't that like mystery of a hotel like I think some people have. If they think of like the biggest fanciest hotel in their city, it might feel really overwhelming to go and walk in there. But I had, so again, it was like, okay, it's going to be easy and I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And so it's not going to necessarily be easy, but you can do it. And you can do anything. You just got to like get out there and actually walk in the door. So
Yeah, this just made me realize as you were saying that, I don't know why I've never thought this before. Like, why am I not going into dental offices and bringing them donuts and like telling them about my brand photography? Like, I know exactly what they need and I know what they don't have. And, I'm so comfortable there. So I'm going to do that.
yeah,
I have a
yeah,
podcast
why not?
follow up on that.
Yeah, leave a couple brochures there. I mean, I've done it in like OBGYN offices. It's
Oh, good idea.
I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Only have so much time, and I did it once or twice, and then I figured I'm going to just focus on something else. But yeah, doctors' offices, OBGYNs, you could chat those ladies up, bring them nice
Mhm.
desserts or, drinks,
Mhm.
ask if you can leave your postcards right there. You know, People who are expecting a baby are all sitting there like waiting for their appointments. Why not? And you can offer them wall art. Every office needs wall art, and if you're a maternity photographer, you might have some really beautiful photographs that could decorate their offices with. And yeah, it's sky's the limit.
Well, especially if you're already a patient there or a client somewhere, like that's even more reason to do that because you're supporting their business and you're putting trust in them as well. So even more reason to go. I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
this is so exciting. I'm just realizing all these things that I haven't done.
Yeah, I mean, every kid has to go to the dentist, right? And every
Right.
family goes to a dentist, so it's a fantastic area. And it's probably the same thing. You don't need 20 dentist offices. If you
No.
had two or three, like that would
Mhm.
keep people coming in.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. So when did you realize these collaborations were more of a partnership than just like this nice bonus, like a real strategy lever to make money? When did you realize that?
So after the first couple referrals came in, I was like, okay, this is going well. What can I do to strengthen this relationship? And
Hmm.
I thought about some of the things that we just talked about, the emails, keeping them in the loop.
Hmm.
Um, I started realizing that I could make, I love websites and I love like updating my website. I don't know. Some people don't like it. I just love it.
Yeah. Oh,
And I realized I can make these custom landing pages for different hotels.
mhm.
It's not that hard.
Right.
It's basically like my homepage, but it's branded for the website for the hotel. And I
Mhm.
can send them the link, and then I can say, here is a custom landing page for your guests only. This is a private page. You make it sound something exclusive, and
Yeah.
it's so easy to do. And then I show examples of work from that hotel. So if the hotel's on the beach, you're going to show lots of beach sessions. If the hotel's in the mountains, you'd have just mountain photos. So it's
Mhm.
really easy to make these, and it again feels elevated, it feels extra special. And when they're thinking about recommending 2 or 3 photographers, you're going to stand out as being like the best one because you've got this beautiful web page dedicated to them.
Mhm.
um, Another thing that sort of clicked is they asked me, one concierge in particular, he asked me, have you ever photographed proposal sessions? I
Mhm.
have one that's next weekend. And he loves your work, but he wants to know, he just saw your family sessions, like, will you do proposals? And I was like, oh yeah, like, absolutely, I'd love to. And then I went home and I was like, how to photograph a proposal? Like I had never done one. And so I realized that um, just because you haven't done something doesn't mean you can't. But
Right.
also, different hotels, they have different needs and different wants. One hotel in particular, they get a lot of proposal sessions. And so I really have that shown on the website, that custom landing page. I actually, for some of them, I'll have different landing pages
Mhm.
specifically for, families, proposals, and whatnot.
Mhm.
And so just hearing what their needs are and then trying to align your business with their needs as best as you can.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. What do you think photographers usually get wrong when they're pitching a collaboration?
What they get wrong? I would say that most of them talk about themselves
Yeah.
and talk about how beautiful the photos are, but don't talk enough about the experience
Right.
and of the session and how it, like we sort of mentioned, how it's on par with like wine tasting or a
Right.
sunset tour, talking about how this is a luxury experience that you're curating for their guests,
Yeah.
and how this is an amenity that the hotel can now offer their guests because you are presenting it in this beautiful package to them. So
Mhm.
you are talking about yourself, but it's a subtle shift.
Yeah.
It's talking about like your brand. And I think that's why it feels more elevated because you're talking about this like whole thing, not just like me.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
so thinking about this like beautiful package that you're presenting and you're like bringing to them.
Mhm.
And then I think people don't ask enough questions about what are your guests looking for? What things are you hearing from people? And just trying to open your ears to
Yeah.
they'll tell you what they're looking for, what guests are looking for. And the really big thing is sometimes I'll hear from people, um, oh, the hotel says that guests don't ask for photography. And
Mhm.
I would imagine, I'm pretty sure that's not true. It's just you're not talking to the right person. So
Mhm.
that's like a red flag. If you hear that whoever the front desk person is saying guests don't ask for photo shoots, you're just not talking to the right person. So and so I'll even ask, is there another person that helps guests with experiences, or is there another guest that another employee that helps bookings? You just need to kind of ask around and talk to the right person.
Mhm. How do you recommend photographers do this if they're feeling really intimidated or unsure? Like I know you mentioned going into like the bottom of your list hotel, but do you think just ripping off the band-aid and doing it and getting one over with and just knowing like this one's not going to be good and I'll just go in and I'll just get it done?
100%. It's like you just got to go and do it, and you'll get better every time you do it. It's like practicing, I don't know, a little talk or some sort of
Yeah.
presentation that you're going to give. It always feels nervous. It always is, just doesn't feel natural. You just got to do it, and it gets easier and easier. And I think the biggest thing too is you're not just going to do it once. Like if you walk into even the one hotel that you really want to get business from, and they don't call you back, okay, 3 months later,
Yeah.
walk yourself back in there and do it again. I think people are like, I'll just send an email. And then, oh, nobody emailed me back. It's like, no, no. email, phone call, you got to do it in person. You got to walk yourself in there and make that connection. And the biggest thing too is with concierges, they don't always work every day. They'll
Yeah.
work certain hours. So maybe you went in on the wrong day. Maybe you went in when the someone else was working who isn't normally in that position. And then there is turnover with concierge. So it's not unlikely that 3 months from now, it's not going to be the same concierge person. So this is like an ongoing relationship. And it's not, I don't, it's so much better than social media because you're not feeding it daily, but it is a relationship that you're going to be going in and chatting with them once every couple months, maybe hopefully more. If they're referring clients to you, I'd go in early to chat with them before and after the session every time because I
Yeah.
want to be their friend and talk about it and show them a couple photos off the back of my camera afterwards. And like, they're your buddy that is making this happen for you. So yeah, it's a relationship.
Yeah, I love that. I want to dive deeper into your course and your education. I want to shift gears a little bit. So you offer education and mentoring for photographers for this, but tell us about why you were inspired to create it.
Yeah, so I had so many people asking me about it. I think it especially started during Elena's retreat that she put
Mhm.
on, and I was just chatting with different photographers and saying, where my business was coming from and how, I had a couple hotels reaching out to me and like giving
Mhm.
me clients, and they're like, wait, like what? How did you do that? Like, what did you say? And once I had like the fourth or fifth person being like, I
Mhm.
want to like talk to you about this, like exactly. And like, do you have a couple minutes? I was like, oh, people are interested in like hearing about this. And there is a strategy. I think you could of course do it on your own, like we mentioned, just walk yourself in there and do it. But
Mhm.
there's definitely some key things that I learned early on, and just like making it a smoother path and just feeling a lot more doable. It's already a little bit scary walking in and talking to a new person, but having some good advice early on, I think makes it a lot easier.
For sure, some guidance too from somebody that's done it a lot and is having success. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Who would you say this course is really for, and like what stage of their business would you recommend that they start doing this?
Yeah, so I think it could be anywhere from someone pretty early on to a seasoned photographer who's just looking to diversify work.
Mhm.
You do want to have a portfolio when you're talking to the hotel about this
Mhm.
guest experience. You do need to have photos to back it up. You want to be pretty comfortable with the offer that you're giving and show really lovely examples and feel like you've kind of ironed out some of the kinks with whether it's family photography or extended family or proposals. Um, like I said, I did my first proposal session with this one hotel guest. So
Mhm.
you certainly can like pivot and do something new, but it's good to have some examples to show. And you want to have like, quite a few examples, at least like a good 20 or 30 images that you can put up on a website to show. And I've talked to photographers who've been in business for 20 years, and they're looking to get more business in a certain area. And
Mhm.
like you just mentioned right now, like, oh, you could walk into dentist's office. Like, um, sky's the limit. I work with a lot of birth centers. Um, you can do child's boutique stores. There's so many different local businesses, and especially people who have associate photographers. I think this is a great way to build up some of their clients or their business. I mean, what photographer doesn't want more business coming in the door, especially when it's aligned with your ideal client? And I talk a lot about that. That's something we haven't spoken about today, but you want to think about who your ideal client is
Right.
and where they're spending their time and their money. So you're not just going after any hotel, but it's the type of hotel that would connect with your ideal client. So if you're a family photographer, it's going to be more family friendly hotels. If you're a couples photographer, it might be that really fancy, quiet, exclusive hotel that families wouldn't want to go to. So you definitely want to think about the types of guests you're looking to attract, and then the hotel or the business that would attract them as well.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you this, but when I was in Palm Springs, not the last time, but the time before that, one of my favorite hotels is the Sands. And it's super cute. It's like bougie and it is family friendly, but it's probably kind of half and half. I don't know. Anyways, I always eat there and I like their spa and it's just cute. And anyways, I'm walking out and I see this family standing in the entryway because it's beautiful. And I see this photographer and I was like, oh, I wonder if she's collaborating. Like I was like, good for her. And it reminded me, I'm like, I have leaned and I understand why I have. It takes a lot of work, but I've leaned so much on my website. Like now I'm at a point where I have this ecosystem, and now I'm like, okay, where can I like make another spoke to go out of this hub? So
Yeah.
this is so good for me to hear too, because it's so helpful.
Yeah, and it's so fun. If there is a favorite place that you are often visiting for a quiet time or a nice spa session, like, start there. If you're already like chatting with different employees there, ask them, oh, do you see families getting photographed, often? Or you just like wherever you're spending your time and any connections you have, like that's a perfect place to start.
Yeah, for sure. What do you see most photographers struggling with before they join your program?
I would say that they love the idea of it, but they're struggling to implement it.
Hmm.
Maybe they've been to one or two hotels, but like nothing's come of it. Or maybe they've talked with a birth center, they've talked with a doula, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, it seems obvious to me, but it's you just have to follow up. Like I've said this again and again. It's a relationship that you have to keep nurturing and tending to. And it doesn't take a lot or often, but like every once in a while, you need to check in with these people and give them again a reason to love you, to want to open the door to you, bringing them little lattes
Hmm.
or box of cookies or just even a hi check-in, like how are you doing today?
Hmm.
It's a relationship that you need to foster. And so that's I think so many photographers love the idea of it, but once they try it once and nothing happens, they kind of move on to the next thing. And you can certainly, but I feel like with minimal amounts of effort compared to like, feeding Instagram, that I love going and seeing these people and chatting with them, and they bring me business. So it's like this thing I look forward to doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like anything in running your business. You try it once and then you walk away because it didn't work. But that's anything in your business. And everything you're actually saying is so similar to what I teach for websites. It's like your ideal client, and you have to start a relationship, and it takes time and things like that. Like it with anything in your business, there's typically not an easy button. The easy button is doing the work,
Yep.
which is unfortunately the the
And you don't have
answer.
to do all the work. Like, you don't have to do everything too.
Yeah.
Like, if Instagram's your jam, yeah, focus your energy
Yeah.
there. If you love SEO on websites, great, focus your energy there.
Hmm.
And then different stages, in 1 year to the next year, you can focus on different things too. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, just know that you do need to focus a little bit of energy to
Hmm.
whatever you want to have happen before you start
Hmm.
seeing the needle turn.
Yeah. How do you teach photographers to like stop relying on discounts and instead like position themselves as a valuable partner? Because I think you do that really well, and I think a lot of people listening might think they have to do something else instead of just saying like really diving in and expanding on their experience. Because whether or not they think that now, it is an experience that they're offering.
Yeah, I hear that again and again that like they're gonna go to a children's boutique store and they're gonna offer their sessions for like a 30% discount, and like,
Mhm.
the store will recommend me and they'll get this discount code. And I was like, you don't
Mhm.
need to do any of that discount stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't had a lot of luck with some of the boutique clothing
Mhm.
stores, and
Mhm.
maybe that's just because that's sort of what they're expecting, or discounts. But with like high-end hotels or birth centers, yeah, you don't need to offer any sort of discount. You're offering an elevated,
Mhm.
amazing experience, and the
Mhm.
price should reflect that, or reflect what your pricing is at the moment. But yeah, you don't need to do any sort of discount.
Mhm.
If anything, I think it hurts you. So you
I
want the brand to stand for the price, that yes, this experience costs this amount of money.
Mhm.
Where I do think about the money exchange is I do give the concierge a nice gift to thank them for referring clients. I don't like to think of it as a referral fee. I don't like to think of it as like a one-to-one exchange where here you gave me two clients, here's the, exact same amount that I do every time. I think of it as like a bonus or like a thank you gift. And about 4 times a year, sometimes 5 times a year, but quarterly, and then a little extra around Christmas time, I'll give them an envelope with some cash in it. And I'll say, thank you for referring your guests to me. I really appreciate you so much, and placing
Mhm.
your trust in me. And so I do give them that nice gift as a thank you. But I don't think that you should discount your sessions at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What is if someone took just one like thing and implemented from your course, what should it be? Like walking away from this podcast, if you were to give them one thing, what would you say?
I would say the biggest thing is just to go out and actually do the thing that you're looking to do. People put it on the list and then they don't actually do it. But I'd say the biggest takeaway is to make yourself a little postcard or some sort of physical card that you can leave. And
Mm-hmm.
then, Miller's has them. They're beautiful. They don't cost a lot of money. Have them printed, and then just go out and actually do it. Go to the birth center, go to the hotel, leave a couple, and just make that relationship, and then follow up with an email or some sort of like thank you for meeting with me. And then if you don't hear anything, 2 months later, go and do it again. Just physically get out there in your community and chat with people.
Yeah. Do you write down who you visited and like have like a list, like a spreadsheet or writing it down like I went here, this is the last time I went so you can kind of like keep that organized or what do you
Yeah, for a long time I didn't, so I don't think it's necessary in the very beginning. But
Mhm.
I definitely do, and I do recommend that you brainstorm a list of who to visit. I use Trello. That's what I use for my
Oh yeah.
photography business to keep my clients organized too. But I use a Trello board, and I have different columns for like potentials, and then ones like you know really good potentials that I need to visit really soon,
Mm-hmm.
and then the ones that I've visited with.
Hmm.
The ones that are actually referring clients to me,
Hmm.
and then like need follow up, so like need replenishment of postcards, things like that. There are places like a children's music store or
Mm.
music lessons. I have a couple of those, are like kids gyms
Mm.
where I will leave postcards at the front desk, kind of tucked to the side, so parents are sitting there while their daughter's having piano lessons, and they're kind of looking around, and this little nice card is sitting right in front of them. So I need to go and replenish that, every like 2 or 3 months, which is a great, time to like chat with the owner again and see how things are
Yeah.
going. So I do have a Trello board to kind of keep it all organized. And I like to note, talk about who I spoke to, when I spoke to them, and then did I make any sort of promise. So like with some of the birth centers, I'll offer family sessions to all of the midwives. And
That's
that's like
awesome.
they've taken me up on it, which is really cool. So
Yeah.
I'll send an email afterwards, like physically writing down, because sometimes people will say something in person and you're like, did they actually mean that? So
Yeah.
I follow up with an email like, yes, I want to give all your midwives family sessions, let me know when they're available. We'll get them on the books. And I want them to experience, a beautiful family session with me. So then they're going to be so much more likely to recommend me to
Hmm.
their clients because they've actually done it themselves. And same thing with the hotel concierge. I've
Okay.
had a few of them who like their family came into town and we did extended family session for them, or they wanted a couple headshots for their LinkedIn. I was like, it was after a shoot. The sunlight was beautiful, and they're like, "Oh, can we take a headshot real quick?"
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'd love to take a 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Beautiful headshots. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. My head is exploding, and I've heard you say this like 100 times, but I always get like new ideas every time you talk about this. So I'm
Yeah, the
like,
possibilities are endless.
they really are. I'm like, oh my gosh, like birth centers and hotels and dental offices, and oh my gosh, there's so much more I could be doing. So I'm very excited. Okay, so I hate it when people ask me this, and I'm gonna ask you, but can we like role play? Can you just pretend like like I'm the concierge and it's the first time you're walking in? Because I would love to hear like if we can sort of pretend like what would you say? Like I'm the
Sure.
concierge and I'm like, what do you want? How would
Yeah.
because because that's a little bit how it feels unless they know you're a guest. I don't
Hmm.
know. What do you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd walk up and I'd say, "Oh, hi. Are you the concierge?"
Hmm. Yes.
And thank you. And I'd say, "Hi, my name is Tristin Tracy. I'm a local family photographer. I was actually born and raised in Santa Barbara. It's such a beautiful area. And I love um, photographing vacationers. I've worked with a couple of your guests already and taken some of their family photos. We even did like an extended family session a little while ago. And I wanted to introduce myself. My name's Tristin, and here's some of my postcards that I made for you, especially for your hotel. If you want to take a look at them, and I don't know if you leave anything out, but even just for you guys to have it, I don't know if guests ever asks you about, family session, or especially like maybe baby moons. If you get, pregnant clients, I'd love to photograph some baby moons, maternity sessions here. Um, are you ever, do guests ask you for photo sessions ever?
No, never.
No, never. Okay. Do you help them like come up with experiences? Like, do they come to you for wine tasting or for a sunset cruise?
Yeah, like wine stuff.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but actually, you could pair photography even with some of the tours that you're already offering. I've done some horseback riding where I took photo and video of the guests as they were doing it. I've done some surfing, like surf lessons, where the mom wanted to document her daughter having her very first surf lesson. And I was out there, kind of standing in the water and taking some photos. And it's a really nice thing to have, like, as a souvenir from their time here in Santa Barbara. I give a physical photo album with every client session. That's mailed directly to their home. So they have something like tangible from their trip to Santa Barbara, which is pretty cool. Would you feel comfortable like recommending photography if guests were asking or seemed interested in it?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, can I have your card before I leave? And I'll leave you with those postcards, and I won't take up any more of your time, but I really appreciate you talking with me. And maybe I'll send you a follow-up email if that's okay. And I'll have a link to some gallery images. I know you're right here on the beach, so I'll like make a little gallery with family sessions that I've done. We were talking a little bit about maternity, so maybe some maternity sessions right here on the beach, so you can kind of see, what I do and why I do it. And I'd really love to work with some of your guests if that is something that could help them.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks. Well, really nice to meet you. And yeah, I'll send you an email later today.
Okay, I am definitely not saying it like that, and I'm so glad I asked that because I'm like, hi, here's some donuts, bye. Okay, that was
Yeah, and I could have asked more questions and I could have listened a little bit more. Yeah, what are their guests looking for? You talked about wine tours, so I could have tried to elaborate a little bit on that. And so maybe people haven't done all this stuff already too, like maybe they haven't photographed horseback riding or surfing. But you can think about it and like, have you ever photographed your friends surfing, or have you ever photographed your kid on a horseback riding tour? Like sometimes you can kind of like, yeah, I photographed it, like,
yeah,
you know.
for sure. Yeah. Okay, I love that.
But the most important thing is to actually follow up with that email. And in that email, you can be a little bit more like, here's what, how many photos the client would get, both in color and black and white. And here's the time frame I would deliver it. And here's an example of a gallery session. And here's, like you can put a lot more information, like technical stuff in that email. Whereas the face to face, you're just trying to like get to know them. But
Mhm.
always ask for a business card. That's something we hadn't spoken about. So you can follow up.
Yeah.
Depending, so if that person said no, they don't get a lot of photography, I
Yeah.
could have asked, is there a head concierge? Could I get their card as well? The more cards with the more email addresses, the better.
Yeah, because that's my biggest thing. Like, they kind of just like stonewall me, and I'm like, and then I just freeze and I'm like, okay, bye.
And
So,
then
like,
you can ask,
the
like,
lesson is you just have to keep asking questions and love.
yeah, you keep chatting. It's really like coming in at a specific time too. You don't want to come in while they're trying to help guests. So you want to go in the mornings, not too early. I like to go in around 10 or 11.
Okay.
They've been there for like an hour or so, but they haven't gotten the rush of people yet in the
Mhm.
afternoon. I strongly avoid the weekend.
Okay.
I would probably avoid Friday too. So like the best time I think would be like a Wednesday or a Thursday. Probably a Thursday morning would be the target time. You
Okay.
want the head concierge or like the best concierge team there. So
Mhm.
a Monday or Tuesday might be a slower time where they're not going to have their head concierge, but you don't
Mhm.
want to be interrupting them when the like real guests are like waiting in line to talk to them.
Right.
So there's definitely a strategy there where you want them to chat with you for a few minutes and not feel like you're just taking up their time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any like because I like to do like some CSI work before I go into there and like figure stuff out. Is there any way to find out like what like on their website, like maybe there's a specific hotel that they're like, our concierge is here at this time. Would they ever say that, or is that not something? Is there like any homework you could do before you go in there online?
So I'm the type of person where if there's too much to do ahead of time, I'm just not going to do it. And so but some people do like to plan ahead of time. So what I would recommend is that you walk in when there's the best chance. You walk in on like a Thursday or a Friday morning, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday morning around 10 or 11, and you just go in and you give it your best shot and you get the business card. And then you do more research. Then you deep dive into the hotel. You see if there's a site map for like employees. You look and see if
Oh.
the person's card that was on there is compared to other things. And
Mm,
then if you're going to go a second time, maybe a month later, you'll have some more information about who, you maybe know who to look for or who to talk to. But the first time, I think you just need to like get out there and just do it.
yeah,
Um,
I'm
and I
glad
noticed some,
because
go ahead.
I actually don't really want to do the homework. That's me procrastinating.
Yeah. But it is good to do. And sometimes, like the front desk, sometimes the concierge doesn't have a desk. And so you walk up to the front desk and you ask, is there a concierge? And sometimes the concierge has gone for lunch. So, like, it's a little bit hit or miss. But I think the best thing is just to get yourself in there. And I know some people are going to be like, well, I'm going to get my hair all done and I'm going to get dressed up. And it's like, no, I think you should be dressed how you would for a photo shoot. Like,
Yeah.
dress like yourself. You don't need to dress to impress necessarily. It's
Mhm.
what you normally wear, and that's how you're going in to present yourself. It's not this like big to do thing. I
Yeah.
think just going in there and doing it's the most important part.
Yeah. Well, for somebody like me though, I would need to dress up a little bit because I'm usually in my husband's t-shirts and like yoga pants. So if you're like me, maybe you should try a little bit. But if you're a regular person, just go do it. I think the whole point is like just go do it. I mean, what do you got to lose? So,
Exactly. What do you have to lose?
yeah.
They might say no. They might
Yeah.
say no. People never ask for photography. And then you'll say, okay, well, is there another, person at the hotel that helps arrange that for guests?
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, you have nothing to lose. So
Hmm.
I have
Yeah.
like a uniform that I always wear to shoots. I always wear jeans and a white shirt.
Yeah.
So I try to wear that when I go into the hotel. But really, it just depends. But I do want to look professional, but
Yeah.
that's everyone's idea of professional is different. What I wouldn't do is not not go because you feel like you're not dressed up enough. Having that be an excuse not to go out and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good points. Oh my gosh. I know people's minds are going to be blown when they're listening to this. So I want to wrap up, but I want to ask you a few questions before we do, and they're just random questions for you, okay?
Sure.
So my first one is, what is a tool or a habit that supports your business every week?
A tool or a habit that supports my business every week. Well, that's a good one. Um,
Pickleball. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say checking my email is what first came to mind. I check my email constantly.
She's
Um,
a pickleball player. That's why I said that.
taking time to do what you enjoy. Yes, I'm an avid pickleball player. So is my husband, and we try to get out on the courts as often as we can.
Yeah.
Usually about 3 times a week, if not more sometimes. Yeah, enjoying life, right? You pick to have this profession for a reason,
Yeah.
and my husband's always like, "Let's go, let's have lunch together." He works from home too, and so like, let's go play pickleball. Let's go on a walk. Let's go,
Mhm.
let's go walk the dog around the block. And my default every time in my head, I'm saying, no, I've got too much work to do. I need to finish what I'm doing. I'm not going to do it. And then I'm like, wait, why did I pick this career? It was for the flexibility and the ownership to do what I want. So yes, go play pickleball, go for that walk.
I love
Like
it.
like give yourself some of that freedom.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that right now. And before we started recording, I was telling you like I'm in hustle mode again because I have added like another new part of my business. And I know this hustle mode won't be forever, but I also had to remind myself, I'm like, you have to like get up and walk away. And it's hard to do that because you're not clocking in and out and it's all on you. So I think it's really important to do that. I'm glad you said that. What is one thing you wish you had done sooner?
Hmm. Learn about SEO. That would have been really helpful to do sooner. I got my website up and running like month one, and then I tried to put in like new portfolio photos, and I was really like, okay, I want my portfolio to look as best as it could. And I didn't really understand SEO at all. And
Right.
so 6 months later, I'm like, oh, my website is like not ranking at all. Like that's weird. Like, why not? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I just must not be a good photographer. People are
Yeah.
just like not looking at my site. No one knows about me. Like, I guess that just sort of sucks. Maybe I should
Yeah.
lower my prices, or maybe my prices, I'm definitely not going to raise them now.
Right.
Learning there's a whole strategy for why Google will rank you and
Hmm.
how to do that, and then writing blogs, which of course
Yeah.
ties into SEO. I wish I would have been writing blogs from the very beginning.
Yeah.
With Elena's mastermind and with so much that you teach about, I
Mhm.
learned fairly quickly that like I need
Yeah.
to get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing that in the very beginning, and just like it just would have made me feel better,
Yeah.
to know that it wasn't my prices and wasn't me. It was just my website wasn't optimized to get eyes on it.
Yeah, I thought that too. And when I raised my prices the first time, when I went from like $50 to like I'm a real business, it was 475 because on my Squarespace template, it said 475 on there. And I was like, I don't even know what this template's for, but I'm 475. And I did that. And I was freaking out. I never got booked. I'm like, it's my pictures, it's my pricing. I didn't even know what ranking meant. I just thought you put it out there and like you were just front and center. I didn't even know if I knew that. I knew nothing. So yeah, if someone's listening and you have a website and you're not understanding why you're not getting booked, it's true. It's not your work, it's not your pricing, it's just getting in front of the right people. So glad you brought that up. Okay, and the last question, what is one marketing strategy photographers underestimate? I know you're probably going to say your collaborations, but if you do say that, tell me a little bit more about why.
Yeah, just the personal connection bit. I think people, you can think about what connections you already have, friends of friends, or you mentioned, you used to work in the dental office, you still have friends that might work there.
Oh yeah.
Just the real life personal connections, and starting there.
Mhm.
I think we sometimes use that in the very beginning, and then we move away from it. And just to come back to that, like come back to the person that's working at the hotel concierge, or the
Mhm.
front desk person at the birth center. These are people that you can connect with, and you don't have to connect with 100 of them. You just connect with maybe two or three to start, and they're real people that you can like chat with and make a relationship with.
Yeah, amazing. So tell the listeners where they can learn more about your course and mentoring. And I'm, of course, going to be linking that in the show notes, but tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, of course, my website, TristanTracyPhotography.com. I'd love for you to say hi on Instagram, TristanTracy_photography. And my course is on my website. And I'm offering a special discount just for your listeners, 50% off my course. So it's a pretty substantial discount. And if you get one booking because of it, you will more than pay for it. So I think it's a pretty awesome thing, and it can be used for brand new photographers or a seasoned photographer as well. So it's always something to be able to come back to and grow your business with.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate this. Even if we weren't recording, we were just talking over coffee. This is so helpful to me too, because you're sitting in your office alone a lot, and you can't, like, you're too close to the flame, if that makes sense. Like you can't see the bigger picture where you're like there's other things you can do as well when there's so many parts of your business that you're trying to run and you're one person. So sometimes just mixing it up and trying new things is really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie, and thanks for all that you do. You're an inspiration to me as well.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Talk to you soon.